How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SOFI. And the first thing I'm going to be asking, were you guys able to load up on SOFI when it got into the $8 range? It got to a low of $8.82. That's what I call a steal. And it was able to close above $10 on the day. Again, shout out to those that were able to load up on a great company. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to go on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for SOFI. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $10.33, being up 5.19%. On the low, it tested $8.82, and then on the high, testing $10.38. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 75.075 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 63.071 million shares. So what we noticed, we did have above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the daily chart, we could see from the RSI down below, it is at 38.05. And then when we take a look at our moving averages, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So SOFI still continues to be in a bear market, but we ended up reaching a low at $8.82. So again, this was a big time opportunity to buy on this dip, and that's part of the reasons why we saw a strong spike and it got to a high of $10.38. The great thing about it is we finished very close to that. We finished at $10.33. So going into tomorrow, if you want to see further bullish move, then the next area of resistance you want to look out for is going to be right here around $10.70. If we can break through $10.70, then the next level I want to see us do is break through that $11 area, and this could set us up real nicely knowing that earnings is on March the 1st. So will SOFI get back to $11? That's exactly what we want to see, because if it can break through 11, we can get a possible test to the 21-day EMA, but it's $11.95 to be exact. If we don't get that, I still do see SOFI getting back to the $11 area going into earnings. If we end up having a pullback for tomorrow, then I want to see us being able to hold support at $10. I think that would be a good look going into next week, so let's see what happens. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SOFI. Scrolling down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings we have here for the 24th, we have POMIC, so T Rowe Price Total Equity Market Index Fund, that purchased 34,700 shares. We also have QCGLRX, which is Global Equities Account Class R1, that purchased 2,134 shares. And then we also have SSIJX, American Beacon SSI Alternative Income Fund Institutional Class, with a short position of 13,964 shares. And as we go down a little bit further for February the 23rd, we have Ivy Science and Technology Fund Class R that purchased 4.3 million shares. That is a very strong position right there. And we also, if we go down even more, we can see CUSUX that purchased just under 248,000 shares. And then we also have Ivy Variable Insurance Portfolios that purchased 300,000 shares. And then when we take a quick look at the chart, we could see for as far as institutions are concerned for February, they have been loading up heavy on SOFI. And now when we take a look at the short interest, The off-exchange short volume ratio is at 46.06%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 13.80 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 10 million updated 30 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow-free rate, you can see for the latest, it is at 0.54%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 22nd, it was at 45.08, and then for the close of the 23rd being at 46.06. So one thing that remains clear, SOFI does have short squeeze potential. So now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SOFI. So we see on the inflow, it was at 171, and then on the outflow, it is at 111. Keep in mind, these numbers are in the millions. When we take a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 12.37. On the medium, it was 102, and then on the small, it was 56.74. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 3.49. On the medium, it was 72.60, and on the small, it was 34.62. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you could see for today on February the 24th, it being that big inflow of 8.87 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, it is very clear to see we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 9.37%. No surprises there. We know how volatile the stock SOFI is. But one thing that was clear, there were many who loaded up on shares when it came to that dip. We could also see from the order flow, there was a lot of purchasing on the retail side and institutions were loading in heavy. So this is great news for anyone who's a long-term investor in SOFI. And I know a lot of my traders out there were able to profit off the price action as well. So let's get into the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details. So for my final thoughts for SOFI in regards to the price action, I want to see us get to $11 going into Friday. I think it is very achievable. We did make a test inside of the after hours to around $10.95 before we ended up seeing some selling. So that's why I'm saying for tomorrow, look out for SOFI to get to 11. If we're not able to get to 11, then I'm looking for a close above $10, or even if we close at around $10.10, I'm perfectly fine with that because that can give us a nice setup going into next week. Remember, they are going to be releasing their earnings, and that's going to bring volatility even further. And I know many people are going to ask, should I buy some shares right before earnings? This is something that I do not recommend whatsoever, and part of the reasons being is if they end up disappointing on earnings, they can end up having a large pullback, and that will give you the opportunity to load up on some cheap shares. But again, pay attention to the earnings just to make sure that the fundamentals of the business coincide with the goals that you're looking for in your investment. This is very key, especially in the year that we're in of 2022. You've been seeing there's a lot that has happened since this year has started, and we do have to look forward to seeing interest rate hikes. So you want to make sure you're prepared and you're being selective when you're going into place. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. No surprises there. And then when we take a look at the recent institutional ownership, institutions do continue to load up on shares. And I know for a fact, and we already covered it just now, that they were loading up on that dip. So this is why I say to do your homework and do your due diligence. Because if you have high conviction, you would have loaded up on SOFI and you would have been green already. Or even if you were able to get your average cost down, things would be looking a lot better for you. So this is why I say when we have these hiccups inside of the market, take advantage of it, but only do it if you have confidence in your investment. I know I sound like a broken record, but I just want to make sure before you push that buy button, because at the end of the day, I just want to make sure you have great habits when it comes to approaching the stock market. And of course, if you are a trader, pay attention to those support and resistance levels and trade your game plan. Solidify your entry, know your exit, and use the right risk management. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how SOFI performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.